Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's President Droupadi Murmu addresses joint sitting of both houses of parliament, says government has continuously upheld its commitment to reform, perform and transform. Ahead of the Parliament's budget session, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi asks MPs habitual of creating disturbances to introspect. European Union leaders to propose annual debates on a planned €50 billion aid package for Ukraine in Brussels today. The budget session commenced on Wednesday with India's President Droupadi Murmu's address to a joint sitting session of both houses of parliament. The President entered the house with a sengol being carried in front of her. She was followed by Speaker Om Birla, Upper House Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. President Murmu in her address said new building will be witness to productive dialogue on policies that will shape the development of Vikasit Bharat in the Amrit Kaal of our independence.
माननीय सदस्यों, आज की अमृतकाल की शुरुआत में ये भव्य भवन बना है। यहाँ एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत की महक भी है। भारत की सभ्यता और संस्कृति की चेतना भी है। इसमें हमारी लोकतांत्रिक और संसदीय परंपराओं के सम्मान का प्रण भी है। साथ ही 21वीं सदी के नए भारत के लिए नई परंपराओं के निर्माण का संकल्प भी है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि इस नए भवन में नीतियों पर सार्थक संवाद होगा।
President Droupadi Murmu further said that the achievements that are visible today are the outcome of the endeavors of last 10 years.
हमें सभी बचपन से गरीबी हटाओ के नारे सुनते आ रहे हैं। अब हम जीवन में पहली बार बड़े पैमाने पर गरीबी को दूर होने देख रहे हैं। नीति आयोग के अनुसार मेरी सरकार के एक दशक के कार्यकाल में करीब 25 करोड़ देशवासी गरीबी से बाहर निकले हैं। ये है प्रत्येक गरीब में नया विश्वास जगाने वाली बात है। जो 25 करोड़ लोगों की गरीबी दूर हो सकती है, तो उसकी भी गरीबी दूर हो सकती है।
President Droupadi Murmu hailed that building of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya has been a dream of centuries and that it is a reality now.
कोई भी राष्ट्र तेज गति से तभी आगे बढ़ सकता है जब वो पुराने चुनौतियों का परास्त करते हुए अपने ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ऊर्जा भविष्य निर्माण में लगाए। पिछले 10 वर्षों में भारत ने राष्ट्र हित में ऐसे अनेक कार्यों को पूरा होते हुए देखा है जिनका इंतजार देश के लोगों को दशकों से था। राम मंदिर के निर्माण की आकांक्षा सदियों से थी, आज ये सोच हो चुका है।
President Murmu further said that government has enlarged the role of daughters everywhere in water, land, sky and space.
सामर्थ्य बढ़ाने के लिए मेरी सरकार हर स्तर पर काम कर रही है। इस वर्ष की गणतंत्र दिवस परेड भी नारी शक्ति के लिए समर्पित थी। मेरी सरकार ने महिलाओं की आर्थिक भागीदारी बढ़ाने के लिए निरंतर प्रयास किए हैं। आज लगभग 10 करोड़ महिलाएं स्वयं सहायता समूह से जुड़ चुके हैं। इन समूहों को 8 लाख करोड़ रुपया बैंक लोन और 40,000 करोड़ रुपया की आर्थिक सहायता दी गई है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed to the media before the start of the budget session of Indian Parliament. Referring to the Republic Day celebrations on January 26, he acknowledged the country's embrace of strength, valor and determination of Nari Shakti. He said that President Murmu's address to joint sitting and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presenting the interim budget are festivals of women empowerment.
आज बजट सत्र का आरंभ हो रहा है, तब राष्ट्रपति द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी का मार्गदर्शन और कल निर्मला सीतारमण जी के द्वारा इंटरिम बजट एक प्रकार से ये नारी शक्ति के साक्षात्कार का पर्व है.
Prime Minister Modi acknowledged the contribution of every member of parliament. However, he urged introspection among those who have strayed from democratic values and resorted to ruckus and disruption.
गत 10 वर्ष में जिसको जो रास्ता सूझा उस प्रकार से संसद में सबने अपना अपना कार्य किया. लेकिन मैं इतना जरूर कहूंगा कि जिनको आदतन हुड़दंग करने का स्वभाव बन गया है, जो आदतन लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों का चीरहरण करते हैं, ऐसे सभी माननीय सांसद आज जब आखिरी सत्र में मिल रहे हैं तब जरूर आत्मनिरीक्षण करेंगे कि 10 साल में उन्होंने जो किया. अपने संसदीय क्षेत्र में भी 100 लोगों को पूछ ले, किसी को याद नहीं होगा, किसी को नाम भी पता नहीं होगा जिन्होंने इतना हुड़दंग हो हल्ला किया होगा. लेकिन विरोध का स्वर तीखा क्यों ना हो, आलोचना तीखी से तीखी क्यों ना हो, लेकिन जिसने सदन में उत्तम विचारों से सदन को लाभान्वित किया होगा, उनको बहुत बड़ा वर्ग आज भी याद करता होगा.
India's Upper House Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar also addressed the joint sitting session and said that the government has made India one of the leading digital economy that has provided employment to millions of youths.
My government has made India one of the world's leading digital economies. This has provided employment to crores of youth. My government is continuously taking new initiatives for the education and skill development of India's youth. For this, a new national education policy was framed and is being implemented rapidly. My government also wants to make India a leading destination for meetings and exhibitions related sectors. For this, facilities like Bharat Mandapam, Yashobhumi have been created. In near future, tourism will become a major source of employment.
Well, moving on to international updates now. Israeli forces on Wednesday continued their military operations against Hamas terrorists in northern and southern regions of Gaza Strip. As per the Israeli forces, at least 25 Hamas terrorists and 3 Israeli soldiers were killed in Gaza fighting. This comes amidst the terror group Hamas stating that it is studying a new proposal for a ceasefire. The proposed peace initiative includes the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza and appears to be the most serious peace initiative since the Israel-Hamas conflict began. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres convened meeting with 35 member states and the European Union on Tuesday amid fears of funding shortages. This comes after Israel accused 12 of UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA's Gaza employees, for involvement in the October 7 attacks, causing several countries to suspend their funding for the agency. United Nations Relief and Works Agency spokesperson warned that the agency would be unable to sustain operations beyond February without resumed funding. More than 10 countries, including major donor the United States, have suspended their contributions. Israeli government spokesperson has said at least 13 United Nations Relief and Works Agency employees were actively involved in the October 7 Hamas attack on Israel. Levy revealed some parts of an Israeli intelligence dossier that prompted a cascade of countries to halt funds for the UN Palestinian Aid Agency.
In light of the abundant evidence of UNRWA's complicity with Hamas and its failures to distribute aid to civilians who need it, Israel calls for the following. 1. The defunding of UNRWA. Foreign Minister Israel Katz has called for UNRWA to be replaced with agencies dedicated to genuine peace and development. 2. The resignation or dismissal of UNRWA's leadership and a thorough investigation of what they knew about its ties with Hamas. There must be accountability for this cover-up, and UNRWA's leadership must be held accountable. And 3, consistent with his 3D vision for peace, requiring the destruction of Hamas and demilitarization of Gaza, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken forcefully of the need for de-radicalization in Gaza. UNRWA is part of the problem, not part of the solution. It is a Hamas front, and it's time to put it behind.
As UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees faces funding cuts, Norway, a top contributor to the UNRWA, has showed its concern towards the recent decision. The Nordic country has urged other nations to think about the consequences on the population in Gaza as they suffer from humanitarian crisis due to the conflict. Earlier on Sunday, Norway announced that it would maintain its funding to UNRWA following accusations that some agency staff took part in the October 7 attack, in contrast to several other countries that have paused payments. US President Joe Biden said on Tuesday that he has decided on how to respond to the drone attack that killed US service members in Jordan. President said that he holds Iran responsible for the attack. However, added that he does not think to have a wider war in the West Asia.
I do hold them responsible in the sense of supplying the weapons to the people who did it. We'll have that discussion. I don't think we need a wider war in the Middle East. That's not what I'm looking for.
As the US has indicated to retaliate after the killing of 3 American service members in Jordan, Iran has warned of serious response to any threat from Washington. Iranian Revolutionary Guards Chief Hossein Salami said that no threat will be left unanswered. Iran's envoy to the United Nations, Amir Saeed Iravani, also warned on Wednesday that Tehran would respond decisively to any attack on its territory, its interests. And European Union leaders will propose annual debates on Thursday on a planned €50 billion aid package for Ukraine. According to the draft summit conclusions, the aid is to cover Ukraine's need for 3 years. Hungary has been pushing for an annual review with a veto right, which other EU members oppose. In a new update, EU leaders will hold a debate on the aid package based on reports by the European Commission. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said on Wednesday that Ukraine needs more ammunition. EU defense ministers are expected to meet in Brussels to discuss supplies.
Ukraine needs more ammunition. There is a big imbalance on the fire capacity from one side and the other, and this gap has to be filled. And this is why this Council will take a quite dramatic dimension.
Well, DD India's Ishan Garg reports from Brussels.
We are seeing a great deal of frustration within the European Union about how the countries are going to get, in the end, towards an agreement about a €50 billion package for Ukraine. The talks have been on hold. The talks have been rather delayed by several months now. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban blocked the agreement back in December. Now there is some degree of conversation going on about how the countries can agree on a support package. Now, there have have been allegations leveled by the Hungarian Prime Minister that Brussels is in a sense blackmailing Hungary, saying that they could erect financial blockades in the way of the country. These are allegations that not have been proven yet, but there seems to be a degree of frustration between the leaders because a massive chunk of the bloc is trying to get that package across the line, but so far that has proven to be difficult. Well, primarily what the countries that is a 50 billion euro support package, which includes mostly civilian assistance. So it's designed to ensure that the Ukrainian government, its systems, they can continue functioning properly. But apart from that, there's also a discussion ongoing if the EU nations can agree to increase the ceiling of their spending that goes directly towards military aid by another 5 billion euros. And both of these discussions are likely to be up, and they're likely to be front and center when the leaders of the 27-nation bloc meet here on Thursday.
And Russia's lower house of parliament has approved a new law on Wednesday to curb the spread of fake news. The new law will allow the Russian authorities to confiscate property from people convicted of deliberately spreading fake news about the army. The bill that is still need to be approved by the upper house and President Vladimir Putin will also apply to those found guilty of discrediting the armed forces, those calling for sanctions against Russia, and those found guilty of inciting extremist activity. Ukraine and Russia are scheduled to face off at the International Court of Justice in case related to Russia funding pro-Russian forces in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine also said Russia breached a UN anti-discrimination treaty by trying to erase the culture of ethnic Tatars and Ukrainians in Crimea. Meanwhile, Russia denies systematic human rights abuses in Ukrainian territory that it occupies. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Sri Lankan police use water cannons, tear gas on protesters opposing steep tax hike and economic crisis in the island nation. Malaysia swears in Sultan Ibrahim of Johor as new king. Long-lost portrait of Fräulein Lisa by Austrian artist Gustav Klimt found in Vienna after almost a century.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And Taiwan's defense minister on Wednesday said Chinese warplanes and warships often carry out joint combat readiness patrols, but China suddenly turns one of its regular drills around the island into an actual attack. Taipei reported another such patrol on Wednesday involving 22 Chinese aircraft. News from Pakistan now. In a major development, Pakistan's ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Khan have been sentenced to 14 years in jail for the illegal sale of state gifts. The court's decision also includes a 10-year ban on holding public office for Khan. This marks the first sentencing for Bushra Khan, and it comes after Imran Khan's recent 10-year jail term for disclosing state secrets. These verdicts unfold just a week before the upcoming national elections. The Baloch Liberation Army has initiated a massive joint strike named Operation Dara-e-Bolan in city of Mach. The joint ops team includes its suicide unit Majid Brigade, most lethal STOS, Special Tactical Operations Squad, Fateh Squad and Intelligence Wing. The operation has reportedly resulted in extensive damage targeting military and security installations and appealed locals to stay in homes. Well, news from Sri Lanka. Colombo police fired tear gas and water cannons on protesters opposing a steep tax increase and economic crisis in Sri Lanka. About 10,000 protesters joined the demonstration called by the main opposition United People's Power Party, also protesting against the high cost of living after the government declared bankruptcy in April 2022. Sri Lanka's opposition leader Sajith Premadas joined the protesters and blasted the government for imposing the most inhumane pressure on the people and pushing 22 million people into starving. The island nation is facing a dire economic crisis while it prepares for presidential elections later this year. Well, Malaysia's Sultan Ibrahim from the southern state of Johor was sworn in as the country's new king on Wednesday. Under a unique system of monarchy, the heads of Malaysia's 9 royal families take turns to be the king every 5 years. Sultan Ibrahim succeeds Al-Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah, who is returning to lead his home state of Pahang after completing his 5-year tenure as king. Sultan Ibrahim's ascension as king comes amid renewed political tension in Malaysia. While the monarchy plays a mostly ceremonial role in Malaysia, its influence has grown in recent years, prompting the king to wield rarely used discretionary powers to quell political instability. Well, let's take a look at other stories making news today. Enforcement Directorate questioned Chief Minister of Indian State of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren, at CM residence over connections with a money laundering case. There are speculations about the arrest of Hemant Soren today. Meanwhile, Section 144 of the Code of Criminal Procedure is in place within a 100-meter radius of the Chief Minister's residence in Ranchi. A Varanasi district court on Wednesday allowed the Hindu side to offer prayers in southern cellar of Gyan Vapi Mosque. The court directed the receiver to make arrangements for puja to be performed by Hindu side. The lawyer representing the Hindu side, Vishnu Shankar Jain, said that the puja will start within 7 days. Delhi Chief Minister and Aam Aadmi Party National Convener Arvind Kejriwal received 5th summon by Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday to join investigation on February 2 in its ongoing probe in Delhi excise policy case. Kejriwal skipped the previous 4 summons by ED. North Indian state of Himachal Pradesh received first snowfall of the season. Several places in Upper Shimla got first snow of the season. The Met Department has issued an orange alert for the next 2 days. The wet spell over western Himalayan region and over adjoining plains is also likely to continue till 4th of February. Well, on to sports now. The World Sports Group on Wednesday announced the launch of inaugural edition of Asian Legends League at a press conference in New Delhi. The exciting T20 tournament will see teams comprising legendary stars from the 5 biggest Asian cricketing nations: India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. The tournament will take place from March 13 to March 21, 2024. The league commissioner and former Indian cricketer Chetan Sharma also announced the names of 5 franchises along with their icon players for the season on Tuesday. While former India all-rounder Irfan Pathan became a part of Indian Royals, former Pakistan speedster Mohammad Irfan entered his name into the fray for Pakistan Stars. Sri Lanka Lions roped in former opening batsman Upul Tharanga, while former Afghanistan skipper Asghar Afghan joined Afghanistan Pathans for the inaugural season. Mohammad Ashraful was onboarded by Bangladesh Tiger as their icon player. And Yannick Sinner, the first Italian man to win a tennis Grand Slam trophy in 48 years, met Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni on Tuesday after landing in Rome. Sinner beat Russia's Daniil Medvedev in the final of the Australian Open on Sunday, overcoming a 2-set deficit to win 3-6, 3-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-3. The Italian hails from the German-speaking Alpine region of South Tyrol and initially practiced skiing before switching to focus on tennis in his youth. Ashraf Hakimi missed a late chance to equalize from the penalty spot as South Africa shocked 10-man Morocco to set up a quarter-final against Cape Verde at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Evidence Makgopa produced a neat finish to score the opener in the 57th minute, surviving a lengthy video assistant referee check for offside and putting Bafana on their way to surprise victory over the 2022 World Cup semi-finalists. Hakimi was afforded a golden opportunity to level when Mothobi Mavala was adjudged to have handled Ayub El-Kabi's shot, only to fire his 85th minute spot kick against the crossbar. Gabriel Jesus scored and then set up Bukayo Saka for another 7 minutes later to lead Arsenal to a 2-1 Premier League win over Nottingham Forest. And at the City Ground on Tuesday, that moved the North London side to within 2 points of leaders Liverpool. Mikel Arteta's team, who won their second consecutive match after going 3 games without a win, leapfrogged Manchester City into second in the table with 46 points after 22 games. And Austrian artist Gustav Klimt's long-lost portrait of Fräulein Lisa has been found in Vienna after almost a century. The painting, which belonged to a Jewish family in Austria, will now be auctioned on April 24 this year and is expected to be fetched by over $54 million. This rediscovery of the painting is considered to be a sensation and a representation of painter's rarity and artistic significance. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.